My name is Reddy Kadasani. I'm the Practice Director for SharePoint Office 365 at Tallan. Just a little bit about our company. We're a National Systems Integrator. We're a Microsoft Gold Partner. Our offices are located in Hartford, New York, Boston, Tampa, Washington, D.C., and Southern California. So without much ado, let's start with the webinar itself. This is actually a third part in a three-part series that we started last year in August. The first one was around building foundations. In SharePoint, it's essentially building a roadmap for your intranet strategy. Um, we talked about information architecture, metadata management, collaboration, um, and search and findability. The October 24th webinar was around how to optimize search and how to improve findability in search, um, and also improving ability for users to find relevant information in your portal. The third part is actually taking your intranet portal to the next level. It's about building business intelligence dashboards, integrating line of business applications, maybe automating business processes, and we'll discuss in more detail about the third topic in this webinar. Just as a recap for those of you who didn't join us for the last two webinars, we're going to go through the platform and tools we covered during the last two webinars. So most of our demo has been built on Windows and Windows Azure. The platform in terms of content management and portals is SharePoint. We also demonstrated SharePoint Online and Office 365 features along with social features on Yammer, including some of our accelerators that Tallan has built in-house to expedite implementation and delivery of SharePoint solutions. So in terms of recapping the first webinar we had, the idea was to actually think of your intranet as the destination instead of a destination. The idea is to personalize the experience for users, foster and reward collaboration, provide the right amount of governance, whether it's top-down and bottom-up, to actually push adoption, improve adoption of your intranet portal. And the piece that actually binds all of them together is the findability piece. So if your content is not findable, if people can't actually search and retrieve information from your portal, then all the other aspects of your portal can't be used. And what suffers in the end is the adoption of your intranet. So we talked about some techniques and tools to actually improve a lot of these pillars of a successful intranet, such as the right amount of information architecture going in. Planning is really important because unless you know where your information lives and how people use that information, how people collaborate with each other and exchange ideas, you can't really build a good intranet. So you really need to have that foundation built first and then build on top of it and add and extend the functionality of the platform itself. One of the core concepts, what we call as connected knowledge, is the idea that search is front and center. It is a powerful technology, and you can use search as the technology that brings all your content and people together. So the idea is that whether if your content lives in silos of folders, whether it's external data that lives in relational databases or data warehouses, whether we're talking about unstructured content like Word documents, PDF documents, Excel files, whether we're talking with people and their expertise, or the discussion and ideas that they're having around the organization, the idea is to connect all these pieces together and provide a seamless and unified interface for people to be more productive and collaborate. So those were the two key kind of takeaways from the first two webinars, and the idea is to kind of gradually build that roadmap so that you can see into the future of how your intranet is going to evolve over time. And one of the things I usually put forth um, to clients is that you have to think about your intranet as um, a journey. It is not a fire and forget kind of endeavor. You have to plan out a year, 2 years, 3 years out how your intranet is going to evolve because it needs to be an organic system. It needs to evolve with your organization. So these techniques and tools um, are actually to serve you on a long-term basis, are here to actually create a roadmap for you. In terms of having gone through the information architecture, structured and unstructured content management and techniques to improve search and findability, the next step in your roadmap could be possibly to address some of the key business challenges, such as um, publishing key metrics and reports to decision makers so they can make decisions to align investments to maximize growth of the company. Another interesting challenge uh, for many organizations to figure out how to maximize the return on investment on technology investments they have already made. This could be in the form of line of business applications, CRM or ERP applications, etc. So instead of recreating these applications, the point is to bring them together, provide a unified platform that can actually connect to all these systems and provide your users with a single point of entry. That's really the idea of a portal. It's not just to store documents or to be social, but the idea is to be productive and actually help the business grow. And that's really where you can show the return on investment on an internal system like an intranet. So the agenda for today's webinar is basically talking through some of the tools and techniques that you can use to build the concept of integrated portals. It could be through BI reports, it could be through business intelligence dashboards or dashboards in general. It could be through mashups. And the idea of actually integrating with external applications and also automating some of your processes. So we're going to talk about the concept of self-service BI, which is one of the main concepts in the Microsoft stack of tools, data exploration and collaboration delivered through the Office and SharePoint suite of tools. So in terms of the platforms, like I said, we talked about Azure, Office 365, SharePoint, Yammer, and the Tallan SharePoint accelerators. In this webinar, what we're going to cover is Excel, Visio, and SQL Server. Those are kind of the tools of the trade for business intelligence. The BI story actually begins when you start thinking about the data you're collecting. It could be point of sales data, it could be line of business data, or other systems in your organization where data is being collected. And the idea is to be able to combine these large volumes of data to provide powerful insights into that data, to analyze that and give some reports so that those reports can be shared with others in the organization. And those people could be decision makers, maybe executives in your organization, or could be managers of departments. So you can use these reports in a myriad of ways. The tools, as far as the tools go, the idea is to use Excel 2013 or actually even 2010. It comes with power tools like PowerPivot, Power View, etc. To create the data models, perform the rapid data analysis, and discover insights through visual and interactive reports. During the demo that follows, we'll also look at some of the features in the Power Pivot add-in for Excel, like Quick Explore and Quick Analysis, which provide interior data navigation, trend analysis, and drill down capabilities. So after you've analyzed your data and you've created sliceable, filterable reports, you have to tailor your reports to the end users as well. So some users are power users. They can actually work with slicers and filters and so on and so forth. And for certain other users, you have to really create visual reports so they can quickly look at the data, uh, determine where they need to concentrate their efforts, and and maybe assign people to delve in more detail as to um, the issues that they see in a report, for instance. So this is where the Power View add-in comes in for Excel. Power View is actually a highly interactive browser-based data exploration, visualization, and presentation tool. Um, and you can actually create matchups in Power View using map-based visualization, graphs, charts, and so on. And we'll look at some of those during our demo as well. So in a nutshell, as far as the tools and technologies are concerned, we're going to concentrate more on Excel, but we're also going to talk about SharePoint. And the question comes up is, where do those two tools kind of intersect? So you create your reports in Excel, you create Power View or PowerPivot reports in Excel, and then you use SharePoint to actually publish them to the consumers of those reports. So the idea is that the analysis tool is Excel or even Visio, and we'll get to that in a little bit later in the presentation as to how Visio can also help in data visualization and BI kind of dashboards. And SharePoint is really where you publish those reports. SharePoint has built-in security, so if there are reports that need to be targeted to certain users, you can do that. And it also provides connectivity to the back-end data sources, and it provides secure connectivity to the back-end data sources. So it's a great platform to actually publish your reports. SharePoint has a concept called secure store service. So all the accounts that you create in the secure store service are actually encrypted, and so that you can publish those reports, but the data connection is secure in the back end. So let's actually dive right into the demo for business intelligence, and I'll switch over to my demo tenant here. So what we're going to go through here is actually the Power View dashboard. So this is actually a Power View dashboard. It's an Excel file that's been published into SharePoint, and it's an executive sales report, and it shows various data elements on the same report. So you see things like sales quantity by time, which is a line graph on the right-hand top corner. There is a pie chart here in the bottom left, which shows the revenue by category of product, and then the bar chart on the right of it is the sales by category and brand. And I've also added a Bing map in here in the report, which actually shows customer satisfaction by region. So the bubbles that you see is actually they're sized based on the customer satisfaction score by region. So these reports are actually highly interactive. They're not static. So you can actually filter, drill down, and look at various aspects of your data. So let me go ahead and refresh the screen. And while this report is refreshing, let me show you another aspect of how you can publish reports in SharePoint. So this is another page, if you will, another dashboard page, if you will, of various reports. So on the left-hand side, you see customer satisfaction by region, and I've got a few KPIs as well. So the red, green, and orange show whether the customer satisfactions are below the KPI average or above. And then on the right-hand side, I have a bar graph showing customer satisfaction by type of shipping. So by type of service being offered. So for instance, you can see that the bar graph for shipping is the lowest. So it seems like there's a problem here with customers being satisfied with the shipping aspect of the business. And if I scroll down, there is the customer satisfaction over time. So there's this timeline graph here as well. But what I really wanted to highlight here was the social aspect that you can add to your report. So, we've all seen reports on a dashboard page that show metrics and graphs and charts and so on and so forth. But with SharePoint, what you can also add is the ability to collaborate over the content that's being displayed. So in this case, we have 3 reports that are being displayed, and you could have a team of people who are actually either working on communicating, exchanging ideas, and thoughts over what is being displayed. So on the right-hand side, you can see that there is the social feed or microblogging control that's added. And here you can actually go and communicate with anybody. So I could actually come in here, and if I wanted to direct this message to a certain person in the organization, I type in the @ which brings up the list of people in my organization. I can start typing in, and it will filter out as I start typing in the people that match the phrase that I'm typing. If I want to send this to a specific person, I click it, choose the person from that list, and type in my message. So I'm basically reaching out to another person in the organization and asking them, the California customer satisfaction scores are really low. Can you check that for me? Can you tell me what the reason for that is? And I post it, and what happens now is that that particular post can be communicated to that person through email, or if they are on SharePoint, they'll get notified immediately that there's somebody is trying to reach you, or somebody has mentioned you in a certain blog post, right? I can also create dynamic hashtags so that if there is a communication that's going on in this feed around customer satisfaction scores, I can create a hashtag called #CSAT, and then I can very easily refer that in my posts in the future. So as soon as I type in pound, it's going to list all the hashtags in previous conversations that have been going on. So I could actually create these hashtags, and that basically creates um, the communications. It will categorize all the communications under that hashtag. So if I click on #CSAT, for instance, okay, some network issue going on there. But the idea is that if I click on the hashtag, I should see all the conversations that are related to that hashtag. So you can add capabilities like that to your dashboard so that, it's not just a static list, just display of reports, but actually a more dynamic, organic content that people are collaborating on. So let me go back to the executive reports page here and see if my report got loaded up here. So I am going over the network onto the Office 365 tenant. So it's taking a little while here to load. Okay, so there it is. But I can actually double click, for instance, on North America, zoom into my map, and as you can see, all the other reports automatically refresh. That's the power of Power View. Is basically that you can have different displays of the same data, and as soon as you select on any one of the charts, the other charts kind of filter automatically, so you can actually drill down on the same page without actually leaving this page into the reports. So while this is refreshing, let me go back, and I wanted to mention one other aspect on this page. You see these two controls on the top, the year and the geography. These are actually SharePoint controls. And they're data filter controls. So what I've done is I've added these two controls on the page and then connected them to the Excel spreadsheet. So I can actually go in here, filter on the data being displayed down below, and it will show me, because I've connected the two web parts, it actually retrieves the years in the data. So it will go in and look at what is the years that are being displayed. So in this case, 2011, data from 2011 and 2012. So if I just wanted to display data from 2012, I can click on 2012 and it's going to refresh the data in all the spreadsheets that I have here and all the charts that I have here and show me only the data from 2012. And I can do the same thing for the geography too. So you can really create these dynamic dashboards with controls that are specific to SharePoint, controls that are outside of SharePoint in terms of Excel, and then the social features like the microblogging feature in SharePoint, and create a pretty dynamic dashboard that enables collaboration and communication in the organization. Let me go to another aspect. So I communicated with this person and said, can you check the customer satisfaction score? So if that person comes in and says, okay, seems like there's a problem with shipping. Let me go ahead and take a look at the process itself. Let me see what's going on with shipping. So what I have here, it's going to get loaded up here in a little bit, is the order fulfillment process itself. This is actually a Visio diagram, but each shape in this diagram is actually connected to my backend store. So based on certain metrics, it's going to update these data graphics, which are these red check marks on the boxes, or green check marks on these boxes, if all these processes are working fine. I've set it up so that we get a check mark on that process. Now I can see that there is a problem with shipping. There is some metric that's not being met. So that shape actually changes color to orange, and there is an exclamation mark on top of it. I can do a lot of things with that. I can probably start a workflow right from here. I could create a task for somebody else to follow up on that. Or I could also create links to other aspects of the portal. So in this case, what I've done is I've connected it to the report gallery. So I'm going to control click on the shape, and what it's going to do is open up the reports library for me. So it's going to list out all the reports that I have published to the BI Center. So let's look at those reports. And so I'm basically concentrating on the customer satisfaction scores. So I want to look at the reports in my report gallery that are related to customer satisfaction, maybe dive deeper into what's going on with shipping. So one of the questions that people are asking is, are these reports in Silverlight? So the answer to that question is yes. If you're using Office 365, the reports are in Silverlight. If it's an on-prem deployment, there is actually something currently in preview that's not been released, but the ultimate goal for these reports, or displaying these reports from a Microsoft standpoint, is to actually display them in HTML5. So what's going to happen in the future is that a lot of these Silverlight controls that are on the page are going to be changed to HTML5 and CSS, so that it kind of conforms to the web standards. But right now, as you see it, it's actually in Silverlight. So what I'm going to do is, this is the reports gallery. So just as a background for what a report gallery is, it's basically when you create the BI Center in SharePoint, it creates a library called reports gallery. It's nothing but a list of all your Power Pivot, Power View reports, basically a list of all the Excel reports that you're publishing on the site. It's got a little different view than a library, but you can always change that view to look like a library as well. So I'm going to click on the reports gallery here. It opens up that report in Excel services. It's going to take a little while. I think I have it open in one of the other windows. Let me check. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it just took a little bit to open up. But this is Excel services, so just so for those who are not aware of SharePoint 2013, one of the new features in SharePoint 2013 is the Office Web Apps component. It's also called the Web Access component. So you will hear both OWA and WAC being used interchangeably for this. So the idea is to be able to display Office documents in the browser. Um, and even if you don't have a client installed on your machine. The idea is that whether you're using a tablet or an iOS device or an Android device or a Windows device, you should still be able to view and edit with the caveat that you don't have all the functionality of the Office client in the browser, but most of the um, uh, editing functionality is available in the browser. But the idea is to be able to edit and view documents in the browser. So it makes it much more easier in terms of collaborating with people who might not have Office client or who might be on the go on a different kind of device, whether it's Android or iOS device or a Windows device. So when I click on a report in the report gallery, I chose to open this up in Office Web Apps, which is in the browser. So as you can see, it's actually in Firefox. So I chose Firefox on purpose just to show you that it actually works in other browsers other than IE. Um, so the Power Pivot report opens up in Excel services. Now I want to target shipping, and the feature I wanted to actually show you here is the quick analysis report, the drill down feature. If I click on the chart here, on the bar chart which says shipping, I get this icon. It's called Quick Explore. So I'm going to click on it. It brings up a pop-up with some key elements to that data point. So in this case, I want to drill down into shipping. So I'm going to select shipping method, and I'm going to say drill to shipping method. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to load up the drill down to the previous bar chart, which is basically average customer satisfaction scores by mode of shipment. So in this case, I'm going to click on next day air. And again, the Quick Explore window pops up. And I'm going to go to the shipping carrier. Take a look at who are all my shipping carriers. And as I can see, there is one shipping carrier who is underperforming as compared to the others. So at this point, I can either continue to drill down, or I can look at what is going on with this specific carrier and look at other data elements as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move to another icon here which says field list. And what I can now do is look at it a little bit more closely. What aspect of this carrier, as compared to the shipping method, um, is causing the low customer satisfaction scores? So what I'm going to do is move shipping method to legend series, and I can change very dynamically right in the browser a different bar chart. So I can not only drill down, but have a different view of the data as well. So as you can see, the yellowish orange bar chart is the lowest of all. So that's probably, when I look at it, it's next day error. So that's probably causing the problem. Now I can continue working in the browser with this report, or I can actually open it up in Excel and look at other aspects, or maybe bring in other data as well. So I can click on do more, I can say edit in Excel, and it's going to try to open up the document in Excel. So actually, I have this report already open in Excel. So this is my detailed report. So I've got my sales analysis, which is actually a Power Pivot report. Um, Before actually going any further, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of how this all works. So you can see on the top toolbar or the menu bar, you have the Power Pivot menu. And this is actually enabled by enabling an Excel add-in. And you do that by going to the File menu and going to the Options. And right in there, if you go to add-ins, you'll see all the add-ins that are deployed. So in this case, I have Power View, Power Pivot, Inquire, all of them enabled. So there is no additional download or installation that you have to go through. It's actually built into Excel. You just have to turn them on. So once you go into, if you go into Power Pivot, you see this Manage Data Model button. That's where you actually go to load up your data model. Once it's loaded up, you can then start creating your report. So in this case, you can add your slicers, which are basically filters. You click on them, and all your other reports um, automatically change. Load it up here. There you go. So it filters out the data. So you can also publish these Power Pivot reports right into Excel just like this, and people can actually use these filters to filter out on data. You also see this top control, which is actually a data slider. So there are many views that you can change the data to. So if you have data that is time bound, then you can create time slicers that you can slide your time scale and filter the data as well. So this is kind of an example of a Power Pivot report that you can create. This is another Power Pivot report, and as you can see, this shipping graph was actually displayed in SharePoint. So you can actually name portions of the Excel report, and then when you publish them into SharePoint, you can tell SharePoint that you only want that particular named section in Excel to display on the dashboard. So you have the ability to hide everything else except for the graph, for instance. Let me actually get out of this report and open up the final report that I have for this one. And I wanted to show you another really interesting feature of Power View. So we looked at some of the other aspects of Power View, like bar charts and maps and so on and so forth. You also have the ability to actually have what is called a play by time feature in Power View, where if data is related to time, date and time, you can actually simulate how the data changes over time. So the graph that is shown in the bottom, the data is the customer satisfaction score, and it's over the period of 2011 and 2012. So if I click on the play button, you can see how data changes over time. And you can see that the customer satisfaction score of California drops over time, even though the delayed flight count for California is coming down. So it's not, so you can gain some insight into your data as to what is contributing to that decrease in certain certain KPIs that you define. Okay. So I'm going to now move back to the slide deck and go through a couple more aspects that I wanted to cover. The last two aspects I wanted to cover during this webinar was the integration pieces and the automation piece. So as you build your BI capabilities, you will find that you need to incorporate data from other applications, like line of business data. We talked about point of sales data. It could be coming from data warehouses, relational databases, You can also actually leverage SharePoint connectors to pull in data from other endpoints. So for instance, you can have data coming in from Salesforce connected to SharePoint list. This is done through what is called business connectivity services. You can create external lists, and then you can connect your report to these SharePoint lists and use that SharePoint list as the external data source for your reports. So you can create these integrated reports that use data not only from within your organization, but maybe from outside, maybe a cloud application like Salesforce, or even through, there are some data that's available, public data that's available even in the Azure Marketplace that you can pull into your Excel reports. The last aspect of it that I want to talk about was the automation part. So every organization has workflows or business processes, and there are a number of tools available actually to automate these processes, both on the Microsoft stack and also organizations that are, or companies that do this for a living. The idea is to be able to streamline some of your processes, gain insight into what processes are working for you, what processes are not working for you, where are the bottlenecks in your process, and so on. That is called the business process modeling, or BPM. And with the new release of Visio, um, there is actually a template for modeling your business processes. So there's a BPM tool that's actually included in Visio. A lesser known and not completely understood tool in the Microsoft Office suite is actually Microsoft Visio. Whenever we talk to clients about that Visio can be data-driven, it's always, we get raised eyebrows. And the reason for that is that Visio has mostly been used as a diagramming tool, but it was actually built as a data visualization tool. And over the years, Microsoft has actually added a whole bunch of functionality to Visio so that it can connect to a myriad of data sources, including relational databases, SharePoint lists, external data sources, Windows, SQL Azure as well. So the idea there is that you define your shapes and you define your great data graphics. So you create the data visualization that you want, and then you connect these data sources to, data shapes to your data sources. So as the data in your data source changes, the visualization in your Visio diagrams change accordingly. And you can really build powerful mashups by by making your Visio diagrams really live with data. And you can then connect these Visio diagrams with Excel reports, for instance, in SharePoint, or other web parts in SharePoint, create really powerful dashboards. You can also initiate workflows from your Visio diagrams, or you can connect your data sources with your workflows in SharePoint so that the workflows kick off, update the data in the backend, and that in turn updates the data visualization on your SharePoint dashboard. So many ways to kind of uh, use these technologies and tools to get to the end point of where you want to be in terms of how you want to show this data to your employees and to the consumers of that data. There's a short demo for this one. I just wanted to show you the various aspects of Visio and how you can actually create these mashups in SharePoint. So this is actually a retail example of a process flow. So on the left-hand side, you see a Visio diagram. And this is, again, very similar to the way Excel works. So you put an Excel services web part to publish your Excel workbooks or Excel reports. You put a Visio service web part on the page to publish your Visio diagrams. So in this case, I have the Visio diagram on the left-hand side. I have some KPIs and Excel files on the right-hand side, and they're both connected. So if I click on the Visio shapes on the left-hand side, the Excel reports are going to get filtered. on the right-hand side. What I wanted to show you was how you can actually create drill down diagrams using Visio and provide, even more insight for your consumers of this information. So, for instance, in this diagram, I have total revenue, which is below target right now. So, say I wanted to drill down to the total revenue um, sales performance by person. So, in this case, what I'm seeing is also a Visio diagram, but it's actually showing me a corporate hierarchy of who is in the regional sales team. And as I see, I've, I've also colored these shapes based on data. And the data is actually sales data pertaining to each individual person in the sales team. So I can see that Robin is red right now. She is at 13% of her year-to-date goal. So say I wanted to drill down on this report, I double-click on it, and I can actually go to another Visio diagram that shows me the revenue by state for accounts that she's responsible for. So I see that everything else is green except for Washington. And so if I want to see even more, I can drill down further into the sales performance for the Washington state. And I can look at the individual stores in that uh, in that in that state. And for each store, I have Excel reports here in terms of the store details, the revenue targets, current versus planned, right? So when I click on these shapes, as you can see, the right-hand side, the reports are getting updated. So I can connect these different aspects of my dashboard to create a really powerful experience. The other aspect is that I could even drill down further for within a store to look at what aspects of the store um, need assistance or need help or need looking into. So I don't know if you can see this clearly, so I'm going to zoom into this Visio diagram, but you can see that the snacks aisles are running low. So I can actually start an alert right from here. So I can say new item, please check the snacks inventory. I can then have this alert actually kick off a automated workflow to the person who's responsible for ordering the inventory or fulfilling the inventory for a particular product in that store. So as you can see, you can create these multiple level um, data visualizations and drive them with different data sources. And then ultimately, you can create an automation of this process or part of that process so that some of the key elements of your business are automatically handled and you don't get into you're not overlooking certain aspects of your business. So, all right, so we're at 15 minutes to the presentation. I wanted to actually go back to the slide deck and then we'll open up any questions you might have for the last 10 minutes of the presentation. So let me just go back here and kind of close out on the few important things. So over the course of the webinar series, this slide basically just touches on all the previous webinars and this current webinar. So when you go back to your desk and you start thinking about your intranet strategy, think about ways that you can make your intranet the place that people go to. So if you pulled anybody in your organization aside and said, okay, you want to find this information, go find this information. The first thing they're going to go do is open their internet browser, and they're going to go www.google.com, right? So that is their destination right now in terms of finding information on the internet. The idea is to create that destination within your organization so that people perceive your intranet as their Google. So that takes a lot of thought and planning. It's not going to happen overnight. So the idea is to actually create that roadmap build that roadmap, build that strategy out, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years out, 5 years out, build that strategy out. Once you build that strategy out, then you need to figure out what are the quick wins. How do you get people engaged into that intranet? So building that good foundation is key. So you build that foundation, you get those quick wins, get people talking about the intranet, get people engaged on the intranet. And then you take advantage of the tools and technologies that you already have in-house. Office, SQL Server, Windows, you all probably already have it. If you don't, then you're probably in the wrong place. This is not the webinar you need to be at, right? So you're already on the Microsoft stack. So you already have most of those tools. So take advantage of those tools. Once you build the foundation for your internet, think about how you can leverage these existing tools to kind of extend that functionality and reach out to the groups of your organization that hold the key to building your organization, taking your organization to the next level. All right, the executives, the decision makers, the managers, and also the consumers of that information. So you need to understand what these tools are, how you integrate them, how you can extend them. And, we all say empower the employees, more than once in a day. There's more to that phrase, right? The idea is that social and collaboration, we use that term all the time. But the idea is not to think about Facebook when you think about social in your organization or think about Twitter. The idea is to actually think about how can you break down those barriers and walls between different silos in your organization and encourage people to communicate more freely and collaborate. Like we saw in the example of the report dashboard. It's as simple as putting a microblog web part on the page and having people communicate with each other. It could be as small as in a team or project. Uh, it could be as big as the whole organization. So, you could start at places where you think that would work. Um, uh, Places in your organization that actually like to try new technology, that's where you can start your social journey and kind of grow from there in terms of how you strategize around collaboration. I'll open up for questions at this time. Again, thank you very much for your time, and I know it's the middle of the week, but thanks for taking 1 hour out of your busy schedules to join us on this webinar.